His skin is white just like a ghost, thick Irish roots and his blonde hair. And he sounds like a Chicago superfan, a music nerd with a collection of CDs from here to there. Yes, Andy Dare is in Chicago, interviewing and barbecuing. It's the Andy Dare Show. It's the Andy.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking out the Andy Dare Show. This is episode 120. I'm joined by Jay Porks via Staten Island, New York City. A real good guy. If you're any fan of my show, you've heard about Jay Porks. You've checked out the Jay Porks Experience out every Tuesday night. But as in the beauty of podcasts, it's available whenever you like it. Just after Tuesday night, that's when the new episodes are posted. And those can be found at theandydareshow.com and now at jporks.com. And follow him on Twitter at jporks. It's a cool story. I guess I met him via the Meat Puppets, trying to get an interview with them. And, found out that he was the social media guy for the Meat Puppets, one of America's greatest bands of the past 30 years. And, he allowed me to interview Chris Kirkwood, and we started talking. I said, hey, you want to do my show? He did my show. It got a bunch of good reviews, bunch of hits. So I kept having him back on, and then finally it just grew into a thing where I'm like, hey, you want to do a show a week? You know, I don't necessarily have to be on it. It could just be the Jay Porks Experience. He obviously goes to enough shows. He obviously buys enough records where he knows what he's talking about. He can carry a show a week. So, check it out every Tuesday night, the Jay Porks Experience. And today we are talking about the origins of grunge. And we had a little debate via text saying who invented grunge. It obviously wasn't Nirvana. They were influenced by this band. That band was influenced by that band. You could really it's kind of like a dog chasing its tail, because everything goes back to the blues. Everything goes back to early jazz music. Rock and roll is not original. The blues isn't even original. It goes back to spiritual hymns, in a field. So everything goes back, but we're going to just take it to the 80s, take it to the late 70s, how punk turned into grunge, how metal and punk combined to form this, more, I think it's more of an image than a sound, the word grunge, But, I think it's a lively debate. Jay Porks is obviously a funny guy, so it should keep your attention. And, just want to thank everybody who's clicked on the Amazon banner located at theandydareshow.com. And, we've had a bunch of cool things purchased. We've had Meat Puppets music purchased, Nirvana music purchased, and just keep it up. We're going to be bringing you a whole slew of new guests, new sponsors, all sorts of good stuff. And, this is just the beginning for the summer. I want to thank everybody who's checked out all the reruns that we've been playing when I've been off on vacation. It really means a lot. Want to thank everybody at Dare Network, and how about I show a little bit of love to Empty Lighthouse, a cultural internet magazine that I've been creating articles for. And, they've also had Tyler Kale from Dare Network writing articles as well. And I think we're doing pretty good. I mean, I put up an article and it gets posted on Facebook. It gets spread like wildfire. So, I'm going to definitely keep this up. I want to thank everybody at Empty Lighthouse. Find that at emptylighthouse.com. My latest article is a book review. It's Eminent Hipsters, a book written by Donald Fagen of Steely Dan. And, just talking about the origins of the hip cats that influenced Donald's music, Steely Dan's music, that whole sound. It goes way, way, way back. So it's an interesting read. And, check it out. I'm not going to read an excerpt because we have a stacked episode for you for today. But check it out at emptylighthouse.com. And, that about does it for my spiel. Just want to thank everybody who's clicked through the Amazon banner, everybody who's checked out an article I wrote at emptylighthouse.com, and, of course, my awesome sponsors. And without further ado, my episode 120. The Origins of Grunge with Jay Porks. Everybody, thank you so much for checking out the Andy Dare Show, episode 120. I'm joined by a returning guest, friend of the show, Jay Porks. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
Doing not so bad. Just 11 o'clock Sunday morning. Nice weather here in Chicago. Got the day off. Got a couple days off. So I'm going to be working on the show again. Been taking a little break here and there. But, just want to thank you for doing the Jay Porks experience on my website.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying your Sunday off because, if it was up to me, I would sit here all day and talk stuff with you. But I now have work on Sundays, so I have to spend 2 hours of my afternoon taking drugs, prepping myself to serve food to people. So
Nice.
Sunday fun day is over for me.
Well, do you have to do lunch and dinner or just dinner?
Just dinner, but people who go out to Sunday dinner don't want me. They don't want this. They want serious.
Nice. But isn't it true that a lot of the people that go out for Sunday dinner are old folks, and the Sunday dinner means 3 o'clock promptly?
They call sauce gravy.
Nice.
I mean, gravy goes on turkey. That's me. I mean, I pass the gravy.
Yeah, that's what you dip your a biscuit into, not
Exactly,
your,
yeah. Gravy's brown. It goes on potatoes, turkey, and chicken.
Nice. Also not the greatest tippers Sunday night people, I have a feeling. Right?
Well, let's hope. I'll just stay
optimistic.
Yeah, let's, living the dream, serving food.
Nice. Well, if the listeners don't know, Jay Porks does a show every Tuesday night, the Jay Porks Experience, at theandydareshow.com and iTunes as well. Just search my name. And, you've been doing it 6 months at least?
Yeah, since I think we started it up in October, I thought, or November. Because I remember I saw Violent Femmes, and I got rained out, and I was talking about that. We're like 41 episodes in or something like that. Which I got to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to vent my frustrations weekly, because it's so fun. I never turn on the computer and say, what am I going to talk about? I never have nothing. I'm always on.
That's awesome. And a big, huge thing for any podcast that's starting out, have regular content. The second that you have 2 or 3 weeks off is the second that somebody listens to the other show. They start not caring, and that's something that you've been doing great. You do a show every week on the dot, and even when I give you a week off, it's like you're almost angry at it, which I like because you always have a constant stream of stuff to talk about. You're not boring. You got a lot of interests. People I work with at my job and stuff, I'm like, what are you interested in? They're like, I don't like TV. I'm like, well, you like sports? I don't like sports. You like books? I don't read. What do you do then? It's like, come on, have some interests in life. It's passions,
They scroll Twitter and just then they think they enjoy what other people tell them to enjoy.
They don't like Twitter. They don't do social media. They don't do anything.
People say I don't understand Twitter. I don't get Twitter. What do you mean? It's 140 characters. What's not to get?
It's the punk rock version of social media, why I love it over everything. You don't get the baby pictures. You don't get the dog picture. You don't get the I'm pregnant, the ring on the finger, all this stuff. Makes me feel like a schmo,
You can really control what you're getting. And you know what it is? Our little podcast network, this Dear Network thing we got going on with me, you, and Tyler, that's like the grunge of the genres, if Twitter's like the punk, you know what I'm saying? This is like the next step, because what we're doing is just something totally of its own creed, and we're just making it up as we go and doing what the heck.
Sure. And it's a traditional thing. It's been like my radio boss Steve Dahl in the 70s. He's talking to the same friends he has now. It just was a lot chintzier recordings. It was just a lot fewer sponsors that make money. It was a lot more punk rock, and that's where we're starting from. And it's just a slow building process, but I mean, if you keep doing it, people are going to just start following it and get interested, and they already have. Actually, I actually hear a lot of cool words about your show. Tyler has yet to really get a following together, but I think Tyler's also somebody that has a market that can be definitely tapped into. It's not tapped into yet, but it's there, and I'm in early and I'm in often on his business. So
you're like the Bruce Pavitt of this,
Exactly, yeah, the Poneman. I actually asked Bruce Pavitt to do an interview, and he wrote me back, and it's such an honor, and I just haven't wanted to bug him back and forth. But every time I mention Sub Pop in a tweet, they say thank you. I love how on their Twitter it says, been going out of business since 1988.
Yeah, true story.
And even a thing of like, I go to the record store last fall and I go through the dollar bin as I always do. A couple weeks ago I picked up 27 CDs at $27, and
Wow.
and in there is a shrink wrap copy of Sub Pop's Sampler of the Year, and I was like, they still do those?
Yeah, right?
And I literally found another 10 bands and artists that I really hadn't even heard of, and then I went and bought another couple albums from these guys, and it's cool that they're still grinding as if it was 1990,
Right. A couple of years ago, I saw the Vaselines, and I bought, like, Enter the Vaselines. They're, like, remastered hits. It was, like, 20 tracks, like, remastered, the whole catalog at the time. And I look on the back, and it says Sub Pop Records. I'm like, really? Like, these guys are still making money. And then Jay Mascis had his last solo record, or his last couple of solo records, not this one. But his last couple of solo records were on Sub Pop, and it's like every time I see it, I'm like, I can't believe these guys are still making money. I don't believe it.
Yeah, actually, the new one is on Sub Pop too, and I think late August release for that. And yeah, I saw him June 1st. Had a good time at that show, a little acoustic thing, and it was cool how he can rock out with just the acoustic, with all the pedals and the thing, what you call it, the sequencer thing, where you play the chords and it keeps repeating.
Oh yeah, he's got a whole. I've only done it once. Like, of the 4 or 5 times I've seen Dinosaur Jr., I've only stood right in front of Jay Mascis at the point where I could touch him once, because you will not hear for weeks. But that pedal board is so extensive. I'll look for a picture of it and I'll email it to you later.
Nice.
It is extensive. Like, I've seen Kirk Kirkwood's, pedal board and stuff like that, and it's nothing compared to what Jay Mascis. And when Jay Mascis, he has one for his acoustic. He has one for Dinosaur Jr. He has one for when he's the guest guitarist with Mike Watt and, playing
Nice.
Stooges songs. Like, he has different pedal boards for different occasions.
I would love to walk through his home or his home studio or whatever. His practice space would be great. But
Oh, man,
but yeah, I had a great June. On the 1st, I saw Jay Mascis. Then I got to hang out with Billy Corgan and company at the wrestling thing, which I'll be doing next Friday.
Right.
Then I did 4 awesome things. I'm trying to remember. Oh, then I went to the Green Music Festival to see Guided by Voices, which have been around for 30 years. And they're heavy drinkers. They're punk rock to the T, but they're super melodic. They follow the Beatles, the Who, all that stuff. They totally kicked ass. It was actually my first time seeing them, and I brought a person who has never bought an album, and then he went and bought a bunch of Guided by Voices. We got to meet him, but it was weird. We met him through a chain link fence, which I've never done that with a band. Have you ever had to do that?
No, that's very crossing the border of you.
It was like Congo or something like that. So then I wrote my article for Empty Lighthouse, and I said it was like meeting some caged rock beasts, like animals or something like that. And yeah, he read the article. He put it on Facebook. I got 170 likes from that. One of them being Keith Morris from Off, which was cool. And yeah, so that was awesome. I turn around. We're pretty much front row. I turn around. There's Scott Lucas scowling at the band from a couple rows back. I'm like, hey, Drew, there's Local H. There's Scott Lucas. He's like, where? Oh, there's Scott Lucas. Nice. And I know you've had a little circumstances with him.
I still love him, but he lectured me for a flash that wasn't mine.
That man's face is scary. I would be scared if I got lectured by him.
Yes, he will hit you. It's on YouTube. If he doesn't like what you're doing, he'll jump into this crowd and beat you up. He took 2 cell phones at a show recently.
Really? And wait, is the occasion that happened when you went on YouTube or no?
No. No, I couldn't record him. He was lecturing me. I had to put the camera down. I did my best to. In my review, I got a link to the review. In the review, there's a picture of there's my pictures, quote unquote pictures, because they're screenshots, and then there's a picture of the kid who was standing next to me who actually took the picture, who I was friends with that night because he was friends with my buddy Flo, and we were all standing there. I'm always in that same spot. Scott Lucas has seen me a million times, man.
Nice, but yeah, scary guy to mess with. See, I wouldn't want to even have words with him.
So he's a couple rows down from you.
Yeah, he's a couple rows back, and yeah, that was a great show. I wrestled the set list away from a guy, which was pretty good. Got the set list. I'm gonna maybe try to frame that eventually. But yeah, I did that. Then you ever heard of Man Cow out on the East Coast?
Have I? Not not offhand, but
He's a shock jock. Made his name in the mid '90s, kind of. Was on all the alternative stations out here. Anyways, I went brought the good word about our barbecue to his radio show, and so we're setting up a buffet in his like $1 million studio downtown Chicago, and I'm looking up the guest before us, Reverend Jesse Jackson, which is
really.
weird. So I'm like, yeah, that's really Jesse Jackson, huh? And so we're in the green room chilling. In comes Jesse Jackson. I go, I didn't say sup, Jesse, but I said, hey, Jesse, nice to meet you. And they go, excuse me, it's Reverend. And I go, okay, whatever, man. His peon told me to call him Reverend, which, whatever, you know.
Well, I'm ordained, so you have to be Reverend.
Nice. He's really doing a good job with that violence in Chicago. I didn't want to say that, but...
You asked him how Hymietown was.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it's been a good month here, and so July was just set to be a little bit of a low light of the year. But yeah, we're gonna be working on this network. Gonna be trying to get another guest or another host, excuse me. She's been a little flaky, but we might do another couple blasts, see if we got anybody else in the chamber here.
Yeah, listen, hey, you know, and eventually people are gonna catch on that it ain't that hard.
Yeah, and the one I was talking to was a friend of Billy Corgan's, and love her, though. She's a really cool girl, and she's been letting me go to these wrestling events and actually got me a DJ gig. Billy Corgan has a vegan tea house.
Of course he does.
Up in Highland Park, and which couldn't be further away from my house in like the west side of Chicago. But I'd go, and I always said I would DJ. They go, they're strictly vinyl over there. I'm like, well, I've got 2 vinyl records here. I got 4,000 CDs. She hit me up last week saying, hey, they're now accepting CDs. You want to DJ for free? I said, sure, it's an honor. You know, he's usually there watching out, giving his 2 cents. So I feel I'll bring some, you know, I've got so many deep cuts that I feel like if anybody could school me on music, it's Billy. Otherwise, it's few and far between. So
right, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I've seen your stack. You own more music than most people I know. I mean,
I own so much I need a bigger house, which is getting crazy. Yeah.
I have a lot of music on flash drives and stuff. I get a lot of it digitally. I borrow it, you know. I borrow it to be paid for at a later date. Let's just say, but you know, stuff like that.
Sure.
But
I had a whole bunch of digital music too. I had my computers freeze a couple times like that, but now I've got it on flash drives just like you as well. So
you know what? Recently, I've actually, and with Spotify, I've just been opening up Spotify. Like I was listening to the new Weird Al and on Spotify because it's already on Spotify. I didn't have to buy it yet, which was cool. But you know,
there's some good tracks on there. I actually heard a couple of the singles actually.
Oh so. Man. There's the one is First World Problems in the style of the Pixies. It's not a specific parody, but it is like if you listen to it, you're gonna be like, wow, that is so Pixies. Like it's so. But you know,
does it say it's in the Pixie style, or how did you?
Yeah. It says, you know, I don't know. I forget what the word is, but
an homage or something. Yeah.
He always does some songs that are like on the last album he did a song that was in the style of the White Stripes, and it was like, or in the style of the Doors. If you look up Weird Al Craigslist, it's like it's not a specific Doors funny cover. It's like in the style,
in the vein of their music.
The vein, yeah. There's a specific word for it, and I wouldn't even be able to pronounce it out quickly.
Like it's so crazy that his debut album came out when I was born in 1983, and he's still doing it.
Yeah, the first 2 albums I bought with my own real money. I'm not sure which order it was in, but I did buy Coolio Gangsta's Paradise and Weird Al Yankovic Homage Paradise.
Nice. That's awesome. All right, yeah, well, so every Tuesday, check it out. Jay Porks, follow him at Jay Porks, spelled exactly how you would guess it would be, which is nice. And what else? Where can they find the notes? I think that's messed up on your podcast, right?
Yeah, the notes are at jporksmusic.blogspot.com.
jporksmusic.blogspot.com. Okay, I'm going to fix that on the ad on your shows, too.
I'm going to work on the URL. I
nice.
mean, you can fix it. You might have to fix it back. I'm just going to let you know because I might just forward jporks.com there because I can do that.
Oh, I got you.
The show reviews going on jporks.com are kind of secondary to me because I really live and die with Constant Confessions. Like, I just always put the show reviews on jporks.com as well just to,
Okay, cool.
Just so you know, just because I
Get
had
as many eyeballs on it as possible.
Yeah, jforks.com, but I'll still do that. But I'll probably make jforks.com bring you straight to the notes because, since I'm blowing up over
Yeah,
here.
oh, for sure. And it should just be like a one-stop shop for everything that you do. Have the podcast on there, have the YouTube videos and everything. So
people always tell me, like, how'd you do that with your website? I'm like, honestly, it was late at night. I moved some stuff around, woke up in the morning, and I said, oh, shit, that is so cool.
Nice.
No idea how to do it. No clue.
Nice. We're going to be working on all this stuff this summer and looking forward to it. All right, we'll be right back with Jay Porks. This episode of The Andy Dare Show is brought to you in part by Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue in Westmont, Illinois. Family owned and operated since 1997, Uncle Bub's is the real deal barbecue. A family-friendly restaurant open 7 days a week. Also, it's a full-service catering company doing weddings, pig roasts, luau's, grill packages, you name it. They have a friendly, helpful staff that will make sure that your party goes off without a hitch. Call them at 630-493-9000. Visit them at 132 South Cass Avenue in Westmont, Illinois, and UncleBubs.com. Hey man, I know you like grilling. I know you like getting those dark grill marks on your burgers, fish, chicken. And I know you don't want to just dry your meat out like you're cooking with a hairdryer. Why not get the Man Grate and click through the AndyDareShow.com's banner so we can keep the lights on here at Honeycomb Hideout Studios in gorgeous Westmont, Illinois. The Man Grate. This episode of The Andy Dare Show is brought to you in part by Record Utopia, a music lover's dream with thousands of vinyl records, musical instruments, and sound gear. They buy, sell, and trade. Give them a call at 630-963-1957. Visit them in Westmont, Illinois at 309 West Ogden Avenue, on the web at recordutopia.com. It's always a good, relaxed atmosphere. Check them out, Record Utopia. We are back with Jay Porks, episode 120. Follow him at Jay Porks, theandydareshow.com. And just thought we would talk about the origins of grunge. Being a social media guy for the Meat Puppets, it's kind of like you're friends with the Mount Rushmore or the grandfathers maybe of grunge. In
sort of.
ways.
Every time I turn on one of these documentaries, nobody mentions the Meat Puppets. That bothers me. Like if you're gonna mention Husker Du, you gotta mention the Meat Puppets. Come on.
It's true, and no mention at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, correct?
Oh yeah, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, that was kind of disappointing. I mean, it had great intentions, and the actual guys in the band were great, but surrounding them was just a bunch of Hollywood. I don't know.
In fairness, the year before at South by Southwest, Dave Grohl, when he headlined with the Sound City Players, that was like the biggest show that Dave Grohl and the Sound City Players played. He did tap the Meat Puppets to open. So
nice.
That's can't get cooler than that.
That's very true. And I mean, say what you will about the hits of the past 10 years of the Foo Fighters, but it seems like his stock has risen, and he's woken up and said, "Hey, I'm important to this entire last 20 years of rock.
Yeah.
Let's start treating it with some dignity,
Well, he's got to get ready to walk into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2 years.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right, because if anyone thought that that's not happening, then that's happening. Like, when he was up there, he was just posturing. He's like, okay, this is what it's going to be like.
Nice.
Right, cool. Like, except I'm going to be, like, alive, and we're not going to be mourning anybody. I'm going to get to be happy.
Yeah.
He has to practice it. Now he gets to be happy about it in 2 years.
That is true. And, I mean, there's so many bands that had roots, as you mentioned, Husker Du with their loud punk, but all the melodies, and a drummer that pretty much looked exactly like Dave Grohl.
Basically, yeah. That's so funny. It's so funny. It's true. Tell Tyler it's his doppelganger.
Exactly, and I'm looking right here. In the dollar bin, of course, I got the out-of-print first album by Soul Asylum from 1984 called Say What You Will, Clarence, Carl Sold the Truck, produced by Bob Mould of Husker Du. And it's just 14 songs with like an amphetamine punk loud sound. You can't even tell it's Dave Pirner. And
right, it is not Runaway Train.
It's definitely not Runaway Train, and certainly a predecessor of the grunge sound. But there's so many bands. I mean,
yeah, but like people say like that they were like alternative, and I hate when alternative becomes a sound. like when solo, like college rock, when there's mainstream, and then there's the other thing, and the other thing is also known as alternative. It's what else you listen to. It's like, and people have this idea that alternative is like a sound. So if you sound like REM, you're alternative. When if you're mainstream, if you're rock, if you're pop, if you're new wave, that's what you are.
It's like the alternative in 1993 was pop, pretty much, right?
Right, yeah. But people were saying, well, alternative came to the mainstream. Well, then it's no longer alternative if it's mainstream. That's the whole point of the word. Like, it's just the definition of the word alternative. I'm not I'm not being a scientist here. I just went to the Webster's dictionary and looked it up.
Yeah, and grunge itself is more of a look, not really a sound anyways. I mean, we can say Green River started making sludgy music. Tad was making sludge rock, but Flipper in the early 80s was doing that.
You know what it is? It's the Pacific Northwest, and it's a bunch of kids, locked away, and they're making noises, and they're not doing anything, and they're listening to, Black Flag, My War, and stuff like that, and they're left to their own devices. And Bruce and John saw something. They saw like that there was a handful of bands, or even I think one or two bands at the time, and they emptied their accounts, and they sold it all out on, all right, we're gonna market this. They focused on marketing this as a movement. This is Seattle. This is the sound. This
True.
is what it is. And Mark Arm described the first bands he was in as pure grunge, pure shit.
Nice.
In a fanzine, he wrote it in one of those fanzine articles. So I mean, the guys who ran Sub Pop, I mean, they were geniuses. Like, if people did that today, afterwards, after grunge hit the mainstream, after alternative hit the mainstream, that's when bands started to try and market themselves as grunge when they weren't actually. And that's when the whole thing got watered down, which is what happens to every scene, everywhere, anytime something gets popular. Like the hippies in the 60s.
Like, you could do a whole show just based on post-grunge, like 1995 to 1999, like
Oasis.
Seven Mary 3, the Toadies. Yeah.
The Toadies. What about Helmet?
Sure.
So forgotten that Toadies, Helmet, these bands.
Well, Helmet started out as a DC kind of punk, like the Fugazi sound.
Yeah. But I mean, they're an important band to that movement of hardcore alternative rock. That would turn out to be grunge and.
What else was post-grunge? Eve 6.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
I guess you could say Everclear. Everclear did Sparkle and Fade at Smart Studios, Butch Vig Studio, but didn't have Butch do it, but it was recorded in Wisconsin.
Yeah. I remember. I'm not a handful of bands. Yeah, like, I mean, even Local H. You spoke about Scott Lucas earlier. Even Local H has that sort of post-grungy sound.
They pretty much made they definitely made their sound on post-grunge. They had enough pathos and weird lyrics and stuff, and the two-man band thing helped him, stick out.
The guitar bass weirdness that he's doing is just.
But what Ham-Fisted was 1995. I don't even have that one. I started with As Good as Dead, 1996.
Yeah, I saw them perform Ham-Fisted live when they were picking records out of a hat that one time.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and they always have fun, with certain like little gimmicks and stuff like that. I like Local H.
Usually you guys only get that for the hometown show. When they're in Illinois, they're always playing some crazy 30-song all-request set out menus and, requests for the chef, and they're dressed up in costumes. They come around, I get lectured about my fucking flag.
Then that's what... Man, not to be messed with, Scott Lucas, if you could take anything away from this episode. But, like, as we said, Red Kross, which I was really kind of unfamiliar with them. I had one of their albums from, like, 94, which was cool and all. It was kind of like Cheap Trick, but more distortion and stuff like that. But I was in the store the other day, and I found an album from 87, Neurotica, which is, I guess, an early one, if not their first. This thing is amazing. This thing is... The Meat Puppets would love it. It's totally raw, but catchy melodies. The type of Kiss Molly's Lips kind of Nirvana sound where it's punky but classic pop, 60s pop underneath,
Yeah, You're absolutely right about that, because as you texted me that the other day, and I went back last night after listening to some music, and I turned on Red Kross and Neurotic, and I was listening to it. I'm like, yeah, this has like some wafty, spacey guitars underneath, and the lyrics are very, very abrasively, like you said, like very sonic-y almost, like a little bit. Like Meat Puppets would love them. They're like sun scorched.
Yeah, sun scorched minus the country.
Yeah, they're not funky. They're not.
Take away the Grateful Dead influence of Meat Puppets, maybe.
But they are baked in sound in a way. Like it's sort of spacey.
I'm not sure where they're from. I don't have my other laptop on me right now, but
they're from. Oh, come on! I got it right here.
East Coast or
California? They're from Hawthorne, California.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when you told me that, I looked it up and I said okay, they're from California, and then I said, all right, when was that? Then I thought to myself, when was that Green River album out? And then I looked and it was 84, 85. I said, oh wow. So I said, all right, we got ourselves a podcast.
Yeah, that's crazy that they were recording in 84, 85. Was that Mark Arm's first group?
Mark Arm's first group was no, it was not. It was not Green River. It was. So
he's old. He's got to be.
Yeah,
way
it wasn't
past 50.
He wasn't in a famous group before that. He was in like the is it the Limp Richards? I want to say.
Nice.
I want to say the Limp Richards. It's also Mr. Ep and the Calculations and the Limp Richards. Mr. Ep and the Calculations is the band that he described that he was in. He described as pure grunge, pure shit.
Nice.
And they formed in early 1980. But see, a lot of people say that grunge is like when metal and punk meet. You know what I'm saying? And in this band, Green River, you really do have Mark Arm and Steve Turner, who are so punk aesthetic.
Sure.
And you have Jeff Ament and Stone Gossard, who are so heavy metal, want to play arenas. That's what they want to do. And they are in this same band. And you can actually hear the contrast in sound going on the album as they're playing. And that's what I would say, like, that's where the founding points of grunge is. And Green River's on the Deep Six comp.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Is also pivotal, that at the U-Men, the Melvins, Malfunction's lead singer Andrew Wood would go on to be in Mother Love Bone, which was when Stone Gossard and Jeff Ament left Green River to try to create a band that would be the biggest grunge band in the world, and they were about to succeed, but Andrew Wood OD'd before his album came out.
Sure, without Andrew Wood's death, the whole scene would be different, because Eddie Vedder might not have had a place to go,
There's no, he might be.
We might not have Creed,
Oh man, Lord help.
Because Andy Wood was more of a glammed out.
What they were doing is they were taking just the needed elements of that music, just the right amount of sludge, and they were adding just the right amount of big arena aspirations. And the way he would I've seen him dressed like he's got one of those wands like Freddie Mercury.
Sure.
And like you hear him in an interview, he's like, I don't want to be in a van, I want to be on a bus, I want to be on a plane.
A little sexually ambiguous, yeah. And it was kind of like you could tell they were shooting for arenas when they were playing these tiny dive bars around the Pacific Northwest, which is also a very awesome thing at the time. So
yeah, and everybody said that he had it, like, and things would have been different. I don't really know. I don't know how it goes. I don't know what happens with Mudhoney after that. But after Mother Love Bone blows up, Mudhoney's supposed to be Mudhoney featuring Mark Arm and Steve Turner from Green River. They're playing a more stripped down punky type sound, which is also, and then the Sub Pop guys come in and they say, "Oh, you're playing grunge, Tad, you're playing grunge." Then Nirvana shows up and the rest is history.
And we got Jack and Dino, to record most of it.
Dino, yeah. We're all going because it's conformity. It's not conformity. It's community. They all go to the same studio. They all work with the same producer. They all got Charles Peterson doing their photography.
Sure.
And there's 12 people at the show, but somehow Chuck's got a shot that makes it look like the place is sold out because he's just that good of a photographer.
Good point. Yeah, and then that early Soundgarden was more of a black metal sound. Yeah.
Like they were the Zeppelin of that. They were like the kings of the castle with the guitar. They were long hair, hardcore.
And look where they're at now. Yeah, I'm not very fond of this latest incarnation. I did like King Animal, but when they start touring without Matt Cameron and just...
Well, they got another former Pearl Jam drummer. They got Matt, who is it, Matt Chamberlain?
Matt Chamberlain, not to be confused with Jimmy Chamberlain. It's spelled differently, but I mean, he's a good drummer and all. He drummed on Mike Gordon's latest album and stuff like that. He gets around. He probably makes more money than most rock drummers in just one band. He plays with a lot of different bands. But still, not what you want to see when you're buying a Soundgarden ticket, you know.
And we mentioned Jack Endino. Jack Endino was in Skin Yard, of course, we know, who was also on the Deep Six tape, the first grunge compilation.
Yeah, was that on Sub Pop or was that before?
No, that was on CZ. That was on CZ Records.
Nice. Another thing I kind of just learned about CZ Records, because Built to Spill, which I'm not sure if you're too familiar with, but
yeah, I know Built to Spill.
More of like a Neil Young, almost jam band, but still just a punky trio, but a lot of solos and like extended song.
Dinosaur Jr.
Yeah, kind of in the vein of that, but they were on CZ. And how about Silkworm? Are you very familiar with Silkworm?
I am not. Whoa. Tell me about.
They have an amazing documentary. If you want to see Steve Albini cry, it's weird. It's like seeing Darth Vader cry.
Okay, I'll sign up. I'm already sold.
Yeah, it might be $5. I shelled out the $5 because I had the director come on last fall. The guy couldn't be any nicer, but he took 8 years to record this documentary. So I'm like, $5 I can do that, you know. And
Exactly.
So Silkworm started off in Minnesota. Then they moved to Seattle in '92. Kind of missed the whole grunge boat there, but they totally fit in with it. I mean, every album's recorded by Albini. Albini would follow them around before he had his studio out here in Chicago. Then I think in year 2000 they moved to Chicago. Were on Touch and Go, huge label out here. I mean, very prominent. They were releasing Butthole Surfers music in the mid '80s and stuff like that, and also all of Steve Albini's bands, Rape Man, Big Black, all that stuff. I'm psyched. He's got a new album from Shellac coming out in November called Dude Incredible, which I'm psyched.
I did hear that. That's awesome.
But anywho, they came out here. Then in 2005, a crazy model, a female model, was all drugged up and driving around and smashed into their van and killed the drummer, killed another member of another Chicago punk band. And, they just called it quits. But, they probably put out 10 albums from 1987 to 2005, and totally just Steve Albini, big drums, no strings, no horns, just cool guitar rock, and totally, I would totally recommend it. It's called Couldn't You Wait? The movie is called Couldn't You Wait? It might be couldn'tyouvait.com. Just Google it, it'll come up, and... Great documentary. They put a lot into it. And, I want to thank Seth Pomeroy for doing my show. He's the director.
So drunk driving, not only killing innocent civilians and children, but also killing Silkworm and future grunge rock movements.
Exactly. And, I think she survived or something, which makes it even worse.
Oh, great. I'm so glad she still... And she probably got off because, she was under the influence.
Yeah, it was a suicide thing or something like that, or under the influence. But, Silkworm never had a video on MTV or anything like that, but do check them out. They fit in with this whole grunge discussion. And who else we got? How about Screaming Trees? Mark Lanigan never gets really brought up much.
Yeah, Screaming. You're right. Screaming Trees. They were doing all that. They were doing everything we spoke about. The Screaming Trees were doing from like '86 on. But I guess with they changed guitar players a couple times. Well, I know they had Josh Homme in on the later years. I know they might have changed members a couple times. And Lanigan's just genius. He can write music with anybody. He can write music solo.
Yeah, I joked to Endino saying they had that pretty big album in '92, Sweet Oblivion with Nearly Lost You. Then took 4 damn years to release the follow-up, and that's like 14 years in like when there's a big scene happening.
Right, exactly.
And totally missed it. 1996, people were past grunge. As we were talking about, they were into 7 Mary 3 and Live and stuff like that. And Live.
For the people who didn't get REM, Live is here to be like an REM hardcore hybrid that's not all that. I mean, they got a couple of good songs. I'm not going to say that they suck, but I mean, come on.
But watered down a little bit, yeah. The Diet Coke of grunge.
Yes, even though I drink Diet Coke, I drink Diet Pepsi. I get Diet, whatever's on sale. I get Diet Pepsi. But
My mom and sister are addicted. Yeah, their hands shake when it's gone a couple hours without a Diet Coke.
Diet Dr. Pepper is the nectar of the gods, though.
Nice. But yeah, live, I won't talk mad shit about them. I mean, that Throwing Copper album was pretty darn good, but then they showed their true colors on all the follow-up albums, and yeah, a little too Christian rock, a little too...
Yeah, and now...
I'll call it teacher rock. Like, you'll see the teacher with the CD on their desk.
Oh, no, then that's an indication that is not good music.
Except in 5th grade, we had a teacher that would go on to touch little boys and stuff like that. That was a good little controversy. But he had he had Live, of course. He had Throwing Copper, and he had Gin Blossoms, the new Miserable Experience album. So I always considered them teacher rock until I got obsessed with that album this summer. I've been playing it. I played it probably 20 times through. I love Hold You Down, which is track 5 or 6. It never got airplay, which is good. And, they just recorded beautifully. They have great lyrics. And it's all because of that alcoholic guy that killed himself after he got fired, Doug Hopkins, who wrote the whole album, right?
Exactly. And if the song, Hey Jealousy, when he says, if you don't expect too much from me, you won't be let down. So they fire. In return, he tells them, listen, guys, don't expect too much from me. Then you won't be let down. They expected too much from him. He got let down. He got fired, and he killed himself. And they didn't have a record that was bigger than that record. But they're a fun live show still today. I saw them recently.
Nice. Yeah, they play little fests and stuff like that. Wherever there's a Funnel Cake cooking, they'll play.
They have an active Twitter account. They'll respond, they'll retweet you. So like if you're a Twitter whore, people do this. You know that there are some people RT for everything.
Sure.
Well, if you follow the Gin Blossoms, they'll retweet you if you say you like any of their music.
Nice. Yeah. So I totally put them back in the category of like the Blind Melon of, hey, they're not grunge, but they're quality early 90s alternative rock music, you know?
Right. That's the problem with the labels and the subgenres, is that bands get thrown into them because everything needs to have a label. It can't just be rock. Like, if this was all coming out now, it would just be rock, because there's no rock right now. There's no straight up rock. I mean,
sure. Yeah.
I'm still thinking of a way to describe the Arctic Monkeys AM, which is still an amazing... I was listening to it the other day. It's still amazing right now when I'm spinning it. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of rock it is, if it should have a name.
Hey, speaking of them, they have an opener on their tour called the Orwells. You heard anything about the Orwells?
A couple of... I've heard I read of the Orwells in the Brooklyn Vegan. BrooklynVegan.com is big here.
Nice. Anyways, they are young as hell. They graduated high school in 2013.
That's great.
Anyways, we have the vinyl record at my store here about 2 blocks from my house where I'm recording this. And I go, yeah, these guys are from Elmhurst, Illinois, 5 minutes away. And they go, the boss man goes, oh, yeah, actually, they used to come in as little kids, which means about 5 years ago. Yeah. But anyways, they came in as little kids. If you look at their first EP, it's called Remember When. And the record store for 28 years was called Remember When Records.
That's funny.
So I go, are you kidding me? I had just seen their David Letterman appearance, which...
Yeah.
Did you see that? It's pretty drugged out, pretty hilarious, pretty quality television,
Rocking out with Paul Schaefer.
Yeah, just writhing on the ground, not singing the second verse at all, sitting at the guest chair. And so I sent them a tweet, and they go, yep, everything is true. Tell Hank we said thank you for everything. So I was like, okay, now I respect you guys. Call into my show whenever you like. Your name is Mario Cuomo, which is hilarious too, the singer. And he's like a crazy, like, albino, alien-looking dude. And so total respect to those guys. And I just heard they played Madison Square Garden with Arctic Monkeys. So dreams can come true, children.
Yes. Yes, they can.
And their album is pretty darn good. I wouldn't say it's up there with, like, the First Strokes album, but a lot less pretentious.
That's to be said.
I always say the Strokes were good, except... their drums were weak. Their drums were recorded like, just way too tiny. Little tiny drum kit.
It's still like, I mean, when you turn on records, don't you feel like nothing really... Henry Rollins says this, that the record doesn't get you off anymore. Like a lot of the Strokes, yeah, they got some catchy songs, but does the record really get me off?
Not so much. I mean, it came out in like 2001, which is like high school times for me, so good memories and some good songs, Last Night and all that stuff. But yeah, if your drums don't kick my ass and you're a rock band, I'm from the school of Steve Albini with the loud booming drums, the in utero drums. You know, if the drums don't catch me, then I'm not completely in on it.
The in utero drums is the perfect. I think that's some of the best drums I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
We did the in utero episode already, but you know.
Oh
what?
yeah. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I did sell one copy of In Utero off my Amazon thing. I want to thank whoever did that. I don't even know who it was.
So now we got to tweet at Dave Grohl and tell him that we helped him. We helped him take like half a cent.
Nice.
But like he needs it.
Yeah, so I mean that pretty much does it. I mean, there's so many different influences of grunge, and
well, you know what it is? It's like America's like a melting pot. Like they call like all ethnicities come here. Well, think about music as the country, and think about the ethnicities of people as music genres. And like you got people from Minnesota, you got people from California, you got people from the Pacific Northwest. You get a handful of people from the metal show, you get a handful of people from the punk show. No longer segregated to their own devices, their own tunnel vision taste in music, and instead open their minds into something else and form different things like what would become grunge rock and post-grunge and other stuff that was kind of like grunge that was called grunge that wasn't really grunge that was happening around the grunge time. So it's basically you take the punk aesthetic, you add a set of Neil Young's effects pedals.
Sure.
You got it. That's it.
Yeah, it's kind of like America. We have all the different types here, even though my town is mostly Mexican nowadays, it seems like. But anywho, we are a melting pot in general.
Like.
I am more of the minority now in my town anyways. But, good people are good people, and I see it in all different types. And, but the whole country in general, we're not just – you go to Europe, it's just one type of people.
Exactly.
You go to South America, just Brazilians. You don't get the Irish guy. You don't get the black guy. You don't get all these different types. But same way with music. America's got all different types of music, at least my collection. I won't say pop music in general, but my collection's – if you would have seen my stack of 27 CDs, you would have seen Ace of Base in there. You would have seen R. Kelly. You would have seen the Minutemen. You would have seen all this stuff. Not that I love Ace of Base, but hey, I'd like to hear that one song I liked when I was, in fourth grade, hitting on girls,
If there was a dollar bin over here, trust me, I would have stacks of CDs too. I mean, show me a dollar bin with some decent stuff.
Nice.
I'll pick up some things.
I'd like to thank these guys. I mean, I talked about sponsorship to them, but I don't know if they're just Chicagoland, but they've got like 8 stores here. It's half-price books. And they have great like rock bios too and stuff like that. But they also got a huge music selection. It's kind of like, did you guys have the Borders bookstores out there?
We maybe in Jersey. There might have been one in my mall, but not. We got Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, now they closed down about 2 or 3 years ago. Now it's just Barnes pretty much. I think that's the only bookstore now. So they're kind of like the only independent bookstore, half-price books.
So you can go to Half Price Books and get the books from Frances Bean's book club list, and you can buy them and join her in reading along books.
I believe you can, yeah.
It's cool and creepy at the same time.
She's a goth wino, yeah.
Really weird. So weird.
She's cool, yeah. I asked her to go out on a date for a burger and a milkshake, and no word yet.
I'd be so afraid to even tweet at her. I'm so afraid that she'll eat my soul.
Yeah, pretty much. But, she's a pretty cool girl. But, this has been a discussion of grunge origins. And want to thank Jay Porks. Follow him at jporks, jporks.com. Did you say that's going to be up?
You can go to jporks.com. You can go to jporksmusic.blogspot.com if you want to get the show notes. Or just Google shit Jay Porks says. You follow me on Instagram, Jay Porks.
Nice.
Twitter, Jay Porks. Like Jay Porks on Facebook. I am 2 likes away from 100.
Nice. Let's push him over, guys. And every Tuesday, the Jay Porks Experience, giving you a nice little overview of his week in music and experiences. Just want to thank you for keeping that up. And we're going to work on getting you sponsors and stuff like that, and keep this ship a rolling. So
absolutely, I'm going to have some guests in the future. And right now, for the rest of this Sunday afternoon, I'm going to spend the next 2 hours getting loaded before I have to. Go to work.
Nice.
Server problems.
Server problems, yeah. All right. So on behalf of Jay Porks, this is Andy Dare signing off for the Andy Dare Show. Be sure to follow Andy on Twitter. That's at Andy Dare. And like our show on Facebook. That's facebook.com/The Andy Dare Show. Videos at youtube.com/Andrew Martin Dare. And we're on iTunes. Just search The Andy Dare Show. Please leave a review. Thanks so much to our wonderful sponsors, Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue, Record Utopia, The Man Great, and Amazon.com. Theme song courtesy of Rich Banks Music. Thank you so much for checking out The Andy Dare Show. TheAndyDareShow.com.